Welcome to the Airbnb Roadmap, the podcast designed to navigate you through the entire journey of short-term rental success. Whether you're just starting out or ready to take your hosting game to the next level. My husband and I became super hosts within just months of launching our first Airbnb and have proudly kept that title ever since. With over 350 reviews and an overall 4.95 star rating, we picked up a hack or two I'm excited to share with you. In each episode, I break down the strategies, insights, and industry secrets that set profitable short-term rentals apart. From choosing the right property, understanding local regulations, and obtaining your listing to go beyond just the basics. I'm here to share everything you need to succeed. So if you're ready to map out your path to Airbnb success and unlock the full potential of short-term rentals, join me on the Airbnb Roadmap. Your journey starts here. Hey, I'm Brittany Wenninger with Porch Realty, powered by Real Broker LLC, and today we have a special podcast interview with not only Nick Sommer, he is with Country Financial Insurance. This is something that I struggle with. My husband and I, we know nothing about insurance, to be quite frank, and we are those type of people that, you know, when you buy a house, you have to have insurance. So we're like, oh, let's just like go somewhere random, you know, let's just get this insurance, give it to the lender, and then we're able to close. Like, we never actually dove into any of the numbers whatsoever until I met Nick. And full disclosure, Nick was he's a current and past client of mine from Porch Realty. He has purchased a couple cabins in Wisconsin. And he was telling me about insurance. I was like, Nick, you need to be in my life. You need to tell me all things insurance. And I think that we were on the phone for 2 hours, and you were just like going over everything with me about insurance. And I was like, I am like mind blown. Like, I had no idea about any of this stuff. And you actually explained it so nice. And you kind of dumbed it down for me, not gonna lie. Like, I am a dummy with this. And you were like, all right, let's take it down a notch and let's, break everything down. So, Nick, to introduce yourself and then also tell us how you even got into insurance.
Yeah, for sure. My name's Nick Sommer. I was born and raised in Rockford, Illinois. For those of you who don't know Rockford, it's northwest of Chicago. I live about 20 minutes away from the Wisconsin border. But I run an insurance practice here. Licensed in Illinois, Wisconsin, Kansas, and we do everything from home, auto, business, umbrella, life, health, pretty much anything you can think of. We either have a solution for it or a good broker partner for that. Insurance isn't something that you wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, I want to be an insurance agent. Most kids say astronaut or firefighter or pro football player. For me, it was insurance, and it didn't happen right away. But the reason I'm an insurance agent is pretty special to my heart, especially this company I represent, Country Financial. Back in 2017, before I was an agent, my family and I, we experienced a really big loss. We had a house fire in where I lived in Roscoe, and we lost everything we ever owned in our entire life, including our house, every piece of personal property, our vehicles, pretty much our livelihood. And the only thing that we were,
goosebumps.
Yeah, it was a terrible story.
Just you saying that, just like, ugh.
It's one of those things that you never want to have happen. And, when the insurance thing is kind of silly to think about because we pay all this money every year for the hope that we don't use it. Right.
Yep.
And it's something that we probably don't know a lot about. And that was the same thing for us. We were clueless. I wasn't an agent at the time, but we were insured by Country, and they rebuilt our entire house, replaced our personal property, and rented the house next door to us for 18 months while we watched it get rebuilt. That experience is not something that everyone gets. And it's not because other companies are, bad. There's so many good companies out there. It's just that my number one tip is make sure you have an agent that you can build a relationship with and ask really tough questions.
Yeah.
And also one that probably asks you questions at the same time too.
Oh, yeah, you did that to us. And you were like asking all these questions. I was like, Nick, I'm sorry, but like, I've never told anyone all of these numbers before. And like,
Yeah.
also like, you're a real estate client of mine too. And I was like, I think that you are the number one client that knows literally everything about Clay and I, unfortunately, but like, it is
Yeah.
what it is.
You
Also, I
have
kind of
to.
know stuff about you because you're buying homes with me, but still, like,
Hmm.
now we know a lot about each other.
Yeah. I mean, as an insurance provider, you got to dig a little bit deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
the terrifying thing about people and their insurance is that if you ask them, they're going to be able to tell you how much it costs and what company they're with. Maybe their deductible, but beyond
Yep.
that, it's almost nothing, you know? And it's just surprising that people's number one asset they own is the thing they know the littlest about. Like, people know more about what ingredients are in their groceries than what's in their home insurance. And that's just, to me, should be completely backwards, which is why, we take more of an educational approach to the whole insurance thing, because there's a lot of jargon and it's confusing. And sometimes it
Mm-hmm.
feels like you don't know where to turn. But you just have to have someone in your corner that's going to give you black and white, all transparency, good, bad, ugly, everything. So that's
Yeah.
why I'm in
And
insurance, because I think people deserve to know more.
yeah, I 100% agree. So to kind of get into it, what are the different types of insurances? I know that there's like secondary, primary, like, can you, and this is just in regards to homes. I mean, we can
The homes,
go a million different directions
right?
with like, umbrellas, auto, like everything,
Yeah.
just
So
homes.
when it comes to home insurance, there's definitely lots of different kinds. Whether we're talking about if we're renting a property as a tenant, or if we are owning a secondary residence, or a building that's looking to produce income, or a condo, or an owner occupied. Each one comes with its own nuances, but the main bulk of it is pretty similar. We're going to have some sort of liability. We're going to have some sort of
Mhm.
personal property. We're going to have some sort of building coverage. And then there's different nuances for each one. But the main ones, in my opinion, that are relevant to this show would definitely be owner occupied and secondary residences.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are in the short term rental world will often use it as a rental property. And your insurance should represent that, because what's going to happen is if you insure it like an owner occupied and something happens, an insurer might be like, hey, this application you sent in, we're not insuring it for that type of risk. And there's some times where a risk might not be taken care of because of, incomplete application or whatever it may be. So
Gotcha.
just be transparent with your agent, because if you're not honest with them up front, come claim time, you might not have the best experience, which is kind of the reason we all have insurance, is for the hope that they pay you if something bad happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you have a couple short-term rentals yourself in Wisconsin, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I mean, I already knew the answer to that question. I just wanted the
Yeah.
audience to hear that.
I know.
So
Brittany's the best.
thanks, guys. So you have two Airbnbs that are up and listed, and then you have another one that is almost about to close, and you're gonna renovate it and do the whole shenanigans with that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with short-term rental insurance, and there's not insurance just for short-term rental, but um, what are the items in the insurance that kind of help short-term rental hosts and owners and all that?
Yeah, no, of course. And also, if you guys have any questions, I don't care if it's my policy or any other competitor's policy. I'll do my best to try to help you guys out. And if you guys need any insight on that, but the big tickers you want to look at when you're meeting with your insurance agent. Number one, you got to make sure we have proper liability. Trip, fall, they get hurt, using an amenity, anything to protect you on a liability status is going to be dire. Typically, people carry liability to the amount that your agent suggests, but I would suggest asking questions about, Mr. Agent, why do you think that limit's appropriate? Because don't take their word for it. Ask questions. Be inquisitive. The second thing is going to be obviously the property. We've spent a lot of money and a lot of renovations to make these properties what we want, and we want to make sure that if it has an absolute casualty like my family did and it burns to the ground, we want to make sure that we can not only replace it, but rebuild it to the exact specs of what it is now. Because the biggest misconceptions homeowners have is, Nick, I bought my house for $300,000. Why in the world are you insuring it for $500,000? That is because as you know, as a real estate professional, location drives price, but materials and labor causes the resale value, or to rebuild it, that is, like take our house, for example. Our house had cost $100,000 more to rebuild than what we could sell it for. It's just because of the cost of materials and labor. So that's the second thing that you want to look at. Third is going to be special endorsements. So when people talk about insurance, they think it's, if anything happens, we're covered for it. Not exactly. The biggest thing that I'm going to talk about is two special endorsements, being your service line endorsement and a sump pump and back of sewer. Those are two special endorsements I don't think a lot of people think about. Like if your sump pump backs up, no insurance policy covers that unless you explicitly tell your agent you want coverage for that. Another thing is flood.
And flood just for clarification, endorsement. There we go. Words. Endorsement is kind of like another layer on top of your original insurance policy. So
an endorsement is something that you can opt into with your insurance provider, because in order to close on a property, you got to have insurance, which is your liability, your personal property, and the property itself, because the lender wants to cover their end in case something happens. But above the actual minimum requirements to carry, an endorsement can be something that you add depending on what type of risk you have. For example, if you guys have a massive finished basement, but we have a couple sump pumps down there, I want to make sure as your agent that if those sump pumps back up, we have enough coverage to rip out the carpet, repair the drywall, replace your personal property, things like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The next one would be, and this is a huge one, especially for short-term rental owners, is going to be the fact that this is not a normal rental. I mean, a normal rental, let's say it's an average property that we're going to get $1,500 to $2,000 a month in rent. If that house is out of service for 12 months, we're talking, maybe 20 grand of gross income, right? Yep. Short-term rental owners, obviously our goal is to do a lot more than that, and a lot of people can, but unless you specifically tell your provider that you want more loss of income coverage, they're only going to give you the standard.
So that's a big thing that not a lot of people really know about with insurance that I didn't know. And I mean, I could just be like a big dummy with all this stuff, but I didn't know that if one of the cabins burns down and we are projected to make like a profit of, let's say, $50K, then the insurance company will say like, okay, it's going to take 6 months for your cabin to be rebuilt. Let's give you $25K. Like, do they just like give it to you, or like how does that work?
So
also if they find out that's a short term, well, you would have renter insurance. So then how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, every claim is a little bit different, but the major player in this equation is going to be, okay, what kind of history do you have to back this up? And also, what are comps doing? Because as an insurance provider, they can't just be like, if I go to my insurance company and be like, hey, my property's going to make $1 million. It's going to be out for 6 months. Give me a $500,000 check. They're probably not going to do that.
Yeah.
They won't do that.
That'd be nice, though.
Yeah, it would be nice. It looks like my property's going to do $10 million next year. No. But what you want to do, keep major track of all your income documents. And anyone that is using Airbnb, they have those documents, whether it's through their, their management software or Airbnb, VRBO, direct booking, whatever they have. Save all those things. Look at comps. We have great tools like AirDNA now that can show us what those comps are doing, and be like, hey, insurance company, here's what our comps are doing. Here's what my previous rental history is. And then you and the insurance company will then come to an agreement.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense.
But the insurance company can only give coverage for what the contract states, And the sad truth about insurance is that people only think about their coverage when something bad happens.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. So that's my best tip on the loss of rental, is definitely just address that question. One that's kind of worth talking about. There's a list a mile long of coverages, but the next one is, you guys are we're furnishing these properties with awesome furniture. We want to make sure that we can replace these things if it gets stolen, lost, a fire, tornado, whatever it is. We want to make sure that we can replace those furniture items. And people often think that their furniture and personal property is worth way less than what it is. Take that art piece behind you,
You
Brittany.
were telling me this, yes, that like.
So that clock that's right behind you, if you were to go sell
Yeah.
that at the Goodwill, you know, they're going to give you $2, right? Whatever it is. But to replace it, it costs 30.
Yeah. Oh
No,
no, the clock, nothing. That photo or that painting behind me, so much. It was my grandpa's. And
yeah,
like not only like does it cost a lot of money, like it's a hand painted photo, but it's also my grandpa's, so it costs a lot more in my mind.
I know. Sentiment isn't something that an insurance company can insure, but the biggest tip I have for personal property, furniture, etc., is once a year, please, please, please take your freaking phone out of your pocket and take a video of your house. Because take it from
I would
me,
love
when we lost our home, guys, we had to make a list of every single thing we've ever owned in our entire life, how much it costs, and where to go buy it.
that. Oh,
I mean, we're talking
that's so much work.
like Dove soap, $1.99. Where can we get it? Walmart. You know, next times everything in your entire life. If you guys have a video of your house, you'd be like, "Hey, insurance company, here's what we have. I'm going to make the list, and it'll take you 2 weeks instead of 6 months." It was a full-time job itemizing our entire life.
That is wild. Like I
Yeah.
can't even think about sitting at a table and trying to say like, "Hey, how many shirts do I have? How many pairs of jeans? What kind of jeans? Like were they just like $10 or were they $150?" That's just mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like what you just said, it's a full-time job, and that's a full-time job I would not want to do. Like that just
An insurance
sounds
company is not going to write someone a blank check if they have a loss. They're going to have documentation to provide, hey, this is what we have here. You don't have to have a receipt per se, but you have to list it.
yeah.
So
Oh my
that's
gosh,
a huge tip, and I wish we would have had a video when we lost our house.
100%. When you told my husband and I this over the phone, we have been telling everyone this tip. Everyone, my parents, his parents, my siblings, like everyone, because it's such a good idea of just like, you know, taking your phone, doing a quick video, and then you're good. Also with Airbnbs, like what we do is that we always have an Excel sheet of all the furniture, the essential stuff that we have to order for the cabin. And then we do like the whole like did not order, shipped, received, kind of like a tracking Excel. And that will work perfectly for pretty much your insurance because you already have the links to the websites, you already have the price. If you guys want this fancy Excel sheet I made, definitely just reach out and I will gladly just forward it to you. I shit you not. Sorry for swearing. I love my Excels. Love them. I am a freak in the sheets. Not in that way, but I'm like Google Sheets, my thing. So if you guys need this Excel sheet, I got you. But yeah, like put all the furniture that you guys have in your Airbnbs on this Excel, and then you're done. If your cabin burns down,
document. I mean, we're business owners here, Brittany. We're not leasing this to Aunt Jerry, to Uncle Jerry. And we're not doing a family or friends. You know, this is a business that we're running, and your accountant's going to love you. Your bookkeeping's going to love you. You're going to love yourself, and your insurance provider is going to love you if you document. Yep. Also, here's the thing, guys. Like, if you don't have documentation, it's your word against theirs.
100%. And that's just for anything. Like, even if you're negotiating a house or, you know, I don't know, anything. Just get it in writing. I know when I was looking up rules and regulations for a certain township, and we're kind of like going off topic, but it's okay. Looking up certain rules and regulations for a township, and I kept on telling my husband, like, yep, we're good. And it's not like he doesn't trust me. He just likes things in writing. So he was like, did you get this in the email that, you know, we're good with the township? And I'm like, no. And he was like, call them, get it in an email right now. I was like, okay, like, I'm sorry. Which he was not yelling at me, but I always think
it feels like kind of like just another thing we have to do. But in the insurance world, that holds up 100%. Because let's say that I'm your agent, Brittany, and you say, hey, Nick, there's this massive tree right next to the house. If it falls over on my roof, do we have coverage for something like that? Mm-hmm. And if you call me and I say yes, and let's just say that I completely lied to you or I didn't know the policy, if you have that in writing, insurance agents are required to carry something called errors and omissions insurance, just like your surgeon does, just like your tax professional does, just like I believe you guys have to carry some sort of errors and omissions insurance as well that your brokerage might pay for.
You betcha.
That covers your guys' end of if I make a mistake or if your agent makes a mistake, you just got to make sure it's in writing, because the he said, she said thing, a claim adjuster really isn't going to take that in consideration.
Does not work. Yes, 100%. And when you are on the phone and it says this line is being recorded for insurance and coverage policy, like I have tried, because this was health insurance, but someone told me that something was covered. It was not covered. It cost me so much money. But I went back to that insurance person and I was like, hey, like it said that it was being recorded. And they're like, oh, sorry, that's just for us, not for you. And I was like, learn my lesson, get it in writing. But
underrated tip, do it.
Yes. So to kind of get back on track, I know that there's other quote unquote STR insurances, and they say that they are just for short-term rentals, Airbnbs, Verbos, direct bookings, blah, blah, blah. What do those companies have that I don't want to say a normal insurance company might not have, but I feel like that you guys are the same. It's just how they market, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know a lot of people are kind of going toward the one company, but it's like, it's all the same.
Yeah. So there's so many different insurance companies out there, and I won't try to take a stance on like the Guesty, for example, or whatever provider. I forget the name of it. But anyway, like Proper, for example, I'm not really well versed in their exact policy language, because to make insurance even more confusing, different companies can define things differently, right?
Yes.
So my biggest thing is that most insurance companies can provide coverage for things that are super, super relevant to short-term rental owners. The only caveat to that is that typically when you go get rental insurance for your income-producing property, that agent or that brokerage is going to write it as they're leasing it to a long-term tenant. And if you're writing it for a long-term tenant, you shouldn't expect short-term rental results when you have a claim.
Managing short-term rentals can be very overwhelming, but it doesn't have to be. That's why I use Hospitable, my go-to property management software program. This is a very powerful automation tool. Hospitable has transformed how I manage my properties, freeing up my times, and I only spend about 15 to 30 minutes a week managing all of my properties. Hospitable automates 90% of guest communication, syncs your calendars across all the platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo, and even coordinates with your team. It's everything you need to simplify your hosting experience and focus on growing your business. And here's the best part. When you sign up using my link in the show notes, you'll receive $30 off your first invoice. Every cent counts when it comes to investing. It's my way of helping you get started with a tool that has truly changed the game for me. Ready to save time and elevate your hosting? Click the link in the show notes to claim your discount and get started with Hospitable today. Yep.
You're both renting it to someone, but the operations couldn't be any different. In a long-term rental, you are insuring pretty much almost zero personal property. In a short-term rental, you're insuring a lot of personal property. In a short-term rental, there can be more chance for vandalism or theft or, different things that a long-term rental policy may not include. The biggest thing is just the education part of it. There's so many good companies out there. Just make sure that the policy is as good as how good they are at paying a claim. Because the best policy in the world doesn't mean anything if they can't pay you when a claim happens.
Yeah.
So there's a online tool called AM Best. My best recommendation is when you pick your insurance provider, go to AM Best and research that insurance provider, because they're going to give you a rating based on customer service, claim satisfaction, tenure, things like that, because
Okay.
like I'm going to kind of go into the weeds a little bit here. Like an insurance company that's only been around for, let's say, 2 years, for example, they may not have the financial capability of, like, let's say every single customer of theirs had a huge fire, versus like a huge company, that's willing to, they can take that loss a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say a lot more than that, but just make sure that they have a really good claim history, because that's why we have insurance. The cheapest rate sometimes is only cheap in the beginning and expensive when you need it.
Ooh, that was good. That was like a little mic drop right there.
Boom.
I like that. I like that because, like, it's true. It's you're paying so much money, and then once a claim actually happens, it's like, all right, do I have to shell out a lot more money than I should have?
Yeah,
And
I'm
then
going to put one thing in real quick. The biggest reason why people are frustrated with their insurance company is not because they're evil. It's not because your agent sucks. It's because a very good conversation has never happened. Hey,
yeah,
insurance company, here's my autos, here's my home, here's my rental property. What's your price? What's your price? Price, 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 price. Here's my price. Okay, great, sign here. I'll never talk to you in 5 years. That was the same
well,
experience you had for a long time. And you and I, like you said, 2 hours we sat down. Not every meeting takes 2 hours, but
yeah,
they've got more moving parts than most do. And
yep.
we just make sure we hone down all those things. And how many questions did I ask you that you've never been asked before?
Way too many. And
Yeah, a
even
lot.
like at first, I was like, and I will admit, like, I got defensive at first. I was like, Nick,
Mhm.
like, why do you need this information? Like, this is way too personal. And
Yeah.
then you started like talking me through it and whatnot. And I was like, okay, you literally know too much about Clay and I's financial situation, our properties, our, you know, child and all that stuff. And
Yeah.
you were like, these are the qualifying questions I need to ask you to give you your best policy. Because if something does happen, I don't want you to be SOL.
Yeah.
And when you said that, I was like, all right, Britt, like, let's just man up. Let's just give them these numbers and all that good stuff. And like, I love talking money to people. I think it's very healthy. I think
Mhm.
more people should do it.
Yeah.
But no one really, I'll admit, like, no one really asked me money questions. I always ask other people money
Mhm.
questions. So when you were asking me money questions, I was like, whoa, like, all right, let's answer these.
I know. I get it. It's a tough question to ask. And it makes it even
Yeah.
tougher because typically when people meet with me, I am the first person to ever ask them these questions. So they're thinking,
Yep.
Mr. Nick, why are you asking me these questions? And I ask those questions because home and auto is the tip of the iceberg. Because if
Yep.
something actually happens at your rental, the the thing that I'm least concerned about is the house itself, and
Yeah.
which will transition eventually into why we've introduced umbrella. And a lot of people think I'm talking French when I say the word umbrella.
No, and we do have some time. Can you kind of go through that? Because Clay and I, we have umbrella insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like very open book. When we have the umbrella insurance, I think Clay just had his Tundra underneath the umbrella, and that was it. And you looked at it, you're like, what is going on? And I know, like, you should have your homes underneath there, your vehicles underneath there, like literally everything underneath this umbrella. And
Yeah, I'll
before
go
we
through
met,
it.
it was just one vehicle. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know what we were doing, and I don't even think my husband did either.
So thinking about it like this, we can have a conversation for 3 hours about what umbrella is, what it covers, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to give you more of the Cliff Notes version of this because, like I
Mm-hmm.
said, every company might have its own definition. So I'm going to speak on country. Sorry, my printer's going off.
Nick
But
just got a fax.
what'd you say?
Did you just get a fax?
No, I did not get a fax. I'm in my office right now, so this is probably one of my staff printing out a quote for one of their
Oh,
clients.
gotcha. I was
Um,
like, do people still fax items?
I
Like,
do have a
what's
fax
going
number,
on?
but here's the breakdown of umbrella. You have auto insurance for your auto, and you have home insurance for your home, right? They both have liability attached to it. Let's just
Yep.
say that you have $300,000 liability on your home and $250,000 of liability on your auto. That's all neat and dandy until you need more. And the thing that I'm going to say about this sort of thing is that let's say that the worst of the worst happens. We're a short-term rental owner. We have this house. We have $300,000 liability, which if you guys look at your policies, 99% of them are going to have $300,000, I would imagine.
Yep.
What happens if someone dies at your property? They drown in the hot tub.
You asked me this too.
They trip and fall. They do something, and you need more than that $300,000. Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Number one, your insurance company is 100%. If something that falls under their peril code happens with liability, they're going to give you what the policy contract states. But every penny over that's on you, unless you have something called an umbrella policy. So anyone that is a landlord, I deem it almost a necessity at this point. Because you and I, Brittany, we're both short-term rental owners. We have no control over what these people are doing. They can invite guests over that we don't know about. They can do something to our property that's, probably not something that we would do. And for me, what an umbrella does is it goes over and above your underlying policy. So let's just say, for simplicity's sake, we have our auto and our home. And let's say that a major car accident happens. Yeah. And I kill a family member of that person. Even if I carry $1 million of liability on my auto insurance, that life to that person is probably worth more than $1 million. Yep. So then me and that person have no choice but to get into a lawsuit. And that's where an umbrella comes into place. Because whichever company you do choose to have an umbrella with, they pay for legal expenses, attorney costs, court, those sort of things, because you are trading your premium for legal representation. My take on umbrella is that it should be representative of net assets the household has. So if you total up things like your home, your car's worth, your retirement accounts, your checking and savings, your property that you own, an estate, maybe a pension that you have, those sorts of things are what people will try to take. I'm not an attorney, so I can't tell you what someone will take from you, but those are the things they could try to take. And the point of an umbrella is to put a legal barrier between all of your assets and a big insurance claim or a lawsuit. Because if or when something happens, I want to make sure, regardless of what it costs, we're going to have protection for that.
100%. And I thought about this stuff after I saw one video at one of my properties. And this video, I laugh at it, but I also had a big knot in my stomach of oh crap, hope that this person doesn't contact us. Because it was end of winter. There was still ice underneath the snow. We have a little bit of a hill to go to the backyard. And this one guy was he was walking, but kind of speed walking down the hill. He slipped a little bit. He caught himself. I was like, good. Oh, no. 2 seconds later, he slipped again, landed right on his hip. And it wasn't I'm going to fall and slip. It was both the legs were high up in the sky, fell right on his hip. He was screaming in the video. And his wife is like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "I think I broke my hip." And I was like, "Oh my God." Geez. He did not break anything. He was just overreacting, and he was a little tipsy. So that kind of added to it. But he never contacted me saying that he got hurt or anything like that. And I am so thankful for that. But I saw that video and I was like, oh my gosh, if he were to break something on our property and sue us, we need extra protection. And then when we looked into the umbrella and I just saw that the Toyota Tundra was underneath the umbrella and that was it, I was like, all right, we need to fix this one. Yeah. So
the thing
happens.
Is that I could sit here, Brittany, for 2 hours and tell you all the things umbrellas cover. It is way easier and time effective for your audience that I just tell people what umbrellas do not cover, at least with country. Yep. The only thing that an umbrella on a typical basis will not cover you for is a blatant act of violence committed by you, the policyholder. Yep. Even things like slander, defamation of character, libel, those are all things that are typically covered by an umbrella policy. I'm going to throw a weird situation out there just to kind of give your audience take a step back and think about the what if a little bit.
Yep.
Let's say that your short-term rental, they have guests over and they're drinking. And they have a little bit too much because they're probably on vacation using your place.
And it's Wisconsin, so.
And it's in Wisconsin. And let's say that they go out and they hurt someone really, really bad coming from your property. I mean, they could even stretch to the point of you could be named that lawsuit because that was the premise that they were overserved at. Like, it is crazy how many buttons they can go from to get you in something. And, people work way too hard to let a stupid insurance mistake take it all away from them.
Yeah, I agree. And there was another, and I'm going to just tell another story, not with someone falling on their hip, but this was a oh crap moment of Clay and I when we were watching the Weather Channel. And it was a huge, massive storm in Wisconsin. All of our cabins are in Wisconsin, kind of like a general area, all probably like within an hour away from each other. And there's this massive storm, crazy winds, like 90 miles per hour wind. And this weather guy was really pissing me off because he was like, high winds, tornado located in X town. And I was like, that's one of the cabins. I was like, oh my God, let's watch the cameras. Like, that's one of the cabins. We're SOL. And then all of a sudden he's like, high wind, potential tornado touchdown in township number 2. I was like, that's the other cabin. Other cabin is going to go up in the wind and we're screwed. And then he did that 2 other times. And I was like, he literally said every single township that our cabins are in, that a tornado is like, was forming or about to touch down. I was like, I had so much anxiety that night. And I even looked at Clay. I was like, I've never had so much anxiety over all of our properties. And if we had the insurance that we did before, and again, we weren't looking at any of the policy numbers. We had no idea what our insurance even looked like. We just know that we had insurance. That would have been so stressful because now, since you didn't really sit down with us, you more just like went on Zoom with us. But now that you did that with us, I know exactly what all of our properties are and our deductions and how much, liability is it, like personal furniture and all that stuff. Like, I know those numbers now, and I feel so much more comfortable that if that weatherman pops up on the screen again and says every single township that our cabins are in, I wouldn't be so stressed because I would be like, you know what, we're covered. We are covered.
Yeah, it all comes back to the conversations you have. Like at our agency, for example, we offer to have a meeting once a year because as life changes, so should your insurance. But most of the time, the insurance conversation doesn't even happen over phone call. It's an email that you got quotes emailed to you from a provider, and you go, okay, do I want the $1,200 policy or the $1,000 policy? $1,000.
Yep.
And
yep.
Like I could make, let's just take one of your houses, for example. I could make that policy say $500 a year or $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's going to say your address and it's going to spell your name the right way on each one. But the contents of that package are so different that people have no idea. Insurance has been looked at like this byproduct that like, you have to have it. The lender made me have it. It's evil. They never pay. Reiterate once again, the biggest frustrations people have about insurance is because conversations do not happen in the way that they should.
Yeah,
or not at all.
And that's why it's so important to have a go-to person. And I didn't know that there was a go-to person, go-to person for insurance. And now I have you. Mm-hmm. So don't fail me, Nick. No pressure.
Dang right. I'm your guy.
No pressure. But we are coming up on the time. So how can people contact you? You said that you are licensed in Wisconsin, Illinois, and
Kansas. Yep.
Why Kansas? I
went to school at Wichita State for 5 years. And I built a pretty good network of people down there. And when they need help, I can do it. But if someone comes to me and they, need insurance in another state, I'd be more than willing to look at purchasing another reciprocal license.
Okay, perfect. I know when you said Kansas, I was like, that was so random.
I know it's kind of a weird state, right? Shout out to my Kansas people. But the way to contact me, you guys can use, what would be the easiest way for me to throw up an email or a card or a phone number or What do you want me to do?
Let's do an email. And I'm going to put it in the show notes too. So
Beautiful. You can contact me via email, nick.sommer@countryfinancial.com, or we've got an office number, which is 815-633-9404. We're open, obviously during business hours. My clients have my cell phone, so that's not a privilege I'm going to throw out there. You got to do business with me before you get my cell phone, guys. So
perfect. Well, thank you for popping on, Nick, and I will talk to you probably shortly about a transaction. But thank you so much, and thank you for educating the audience of all things insurance.
Yes, I'm an insurance nerd, so I hope you guys can be a little bit more as well.
Yes, and I'm a real estate nerd, so perfect match. Mm-hmm. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks for joining me on the Airbnb Roadmap. If you're loving these episodes and want to keep the conversation going, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share this podcast with someone who's ready to dive into the world of short-term rentals. Got a question or topic you would love to hear about? Reach out. This podcast is all about learning and growing together. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, the Airbnb Roadmap Podcast, for more tips, tricks, and behind-the-scene insights. Until next time, here's to turning your short-term rental dreams into thriving realities. I'll see you back here soon.